so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the balls bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the brave and the home of the brave?
Thank you to the senior chorus for that beautiful rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. I am Alex Haig, your class president and the master of ceremonies for today's event. Welcome, fellow classmates, parents, faculty, and community members to BFA's 90th commencement. Were we seated on the Collins Pearly tennis courts, it would be my duty to point out the nearest exits to you in the event of an emergency. Unfortunately, I cannot see your closest emergency exits and must trust you to figure them out on your own. I would also be charged with reminding you to turn off your cell phones and pagers to avoid distractions, but seeing as I can't hear any of you, I won't tell if you don't. I hope you all are as excited for this event as I am. 4 years of hard work and dedication will be celebrated today at the culminating event marking the end of our time together and, it seems, our time apart. With students turning in from the islands to Bakersfield, faculty spanning from Alburgh to Underhill, and family and friends attending from across the country, this is the largest graduation celebration BFA has ever hosted, made especially for us and by us, the class of 2020. I am so glad that you are all here to celebrate with us. Thank you to all those who supported us and made this moment possible. Congratulations, graduates. You've achieved much in your time here, and no doubt will go on to accomplish a great many things. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please give an enthusiastic virtual welcome to our interim principal, Mr. Bill Kimball.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning. On this exciting day, I would like to welcome our entire Bellows Free Academy education community, mothers, fathers, families, friends, the BFA staff, and most importantly, the graduating class of 2020 to the 90th commencement ceremony for BFA. Everyone viewing this graduation ceremony understands the class of 2020 has not had anything that is normal for their senior year. But individually and collectively, they will be stronger from their experiences. As we mark this important milestone in your lives, we know that you did not reach this milestone alone. For many of you, there were people who were an important part of your journey who cannot be with us today or viewing this. I'd like to take and offer a moment of silence for each of us to think of those who could not be with us today at this ceremony. I would like to ask everyone who is viewing this show and graduation that came to see it to recognize and support a graduate to stop for a minute at some point today and reflect on a memory that stands out for you of either supporting or celebrating the small successes your graduate had along their journey to where they are today. BFA's class of 2020 will always stand out in my career as a group of students committed to improving the school for both themselves and others. I can still clearly remember my first meeting with the senior class to talk about the transcript revisions, and the class clearly understood how certain decisions could impact others differently. Immediately, I was impressed with their level of maturity. Today, we are here to celebrate your educational life. It started when you first walked into kindergarten, and now here you are today on your way to new journeys and experiences. During that time, you've learned a lot, had great times with your friends, and now you're ready to go. One of my favorite authors is Dr. Seuss, otherwise known as Theodore Geisel. He had the ability to take profound ideas and concepts and say them in an accessible way to both kids and adults. In his book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, he wrote, "Kid, you'll move mountains. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way." Today starts a new part of your life. So as you go out on your own adventures, have fun. Go exploring, try new things, and remember the great times, the good friends, and the knowledge you have gained while you have been at our schools here in Maple Run. Welcome again, and graduates, have a great future. But do not forget the time in St. Albans. I believe your life will change from this point forward in one very important way. For much of your life up to now, you have had a lot of people making decisions for you. But now, it's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimball, for that lovely welcome. It is now my honor to introduce our graduation speaker, Mrs. Michelle Stinnett. Mrs. Stinnett graduated from Clarkson University and spent 7 years working in her field as a chemical engineer, after which she pursued a teaching degree. She's been a teacher at BFA for 11 years and has been named Teacher of the Year more than once in that time. When asked about her awards and accolades, she humbly stated, "As an adult, I find awards are more internal than external. I'm pretty happy with my choices in life and feel pretty fortunate for that. I get a lot of personal satisfaction working with students, and I'm grateful for my husband, 2 healthy kids, and my puppy." Having been personally taught by Mrs. Stinnett for 2 years, I can attest to the fact that she is one of the most caring, knowledgeable teachers I have ever had the pleasure of studying under. Chemistry is a subject that people either enjoy or love to hate. Mrs. Stinnett will go to the mat to help a student understand a difficult concept, and her quick, dry wit makes the subject more enjoyable. When asked, other students of hers said, "Miss Stinnett is one of the best teachers I've ever had. She has the ability to make the most difficult subject, AP Chem, enjoyable and fun, even at 8 a.m. She has an incredible, unique sense of humor that is loved by so many students, myself included. I admire her so much because of her pure passion to teach. She even wears her profession every day with her periodic table shoes. She's a teacher who not only taught me chemistry, but life skills that I will take with me forever." Mrs. Stinnett is one of the best teachers I've ever had. She's straightforward, goofy, and truly has the best interest of her students in mind. She loves teaching, and it shows. Her unique sense of humor sets her apart from anyone I know. During class, when she asked how I was doing or if I was okay, she truly meant it and was willing to listen no matter what. On top of being extremely compassionate, she's a great role model. She is such a smart woman that I will always look up to. She is the strong, kind, intelligent, independent woman myself and many other women strive to be when we are older. It was a pleasure being in her AP Chem class last year. Mrs. Stinnett is easily one of the coolest teachers I've had, and she always finds a way to make sure everyone understands what she's teaching. If you're confused, she'll explain things in a different way until you understand. She doesn't give up on her students. Mrs. Stinnett is one of the kindest and most understanding teachers I know. I was fortunate enough to have Mrs. Stinnett for 2 years in a row, from my sophomore year chem class to AP Chem junior year. While chemistry is a daunting subject within itself, Mrs. Stinnett was so incredibly encouraging and supportive that I never felt completely overwhelmed. Mrs. Stinnett is humble, genuine, and an outstanding teacher. I am forever grateful to have had her as a teacher and been a recipient of her knowledge, expertise, and humor. You are the best, Mrs. Stinnett. Thank you for everything you do. Keep on rocking those periodic table toms and hanging up those beautifully cheesy lab safety posters. And lastly, I have one last message. One of Mrs. Stinnett's unique qualities is her penchant for periodic table puns, so I couldn't resist making one last pun of my own. Mrs. Stinnett, the class of 2020 salutes you. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Mrs. Stinnett.
Good morning. To the graduates, thank you. I am truly honored you selected me to speak at your graduation ceremony.
Congratulations, class of 2020. The past 3 months have challenged us all, and I wish we were all able to be together at Collins Pearly so I could see your faces. I want you to know, even with a hybrid graduation ceremony and everything that has happened, that this will turn out okay, even if it wasn't how we pictured it. You have earned your graduation, and you should all be very proud of yourselves. In order to graduate, you not only completed all the requirements, but you were also the first BFA class in history to participate in months of online and distance learning during a pandemic. Again, it wasn't how we pictured the end of your senior year, but you did it while keeping yourself, your families, and your community safe. And that's something to be proud of. Life isn't always going to go how you plan it, but you've shown perseverance and have believed in yourself to be here today. I know that is something you're going to need to continue to do in your life. Today I've decided to tell you 2 stories from my life that would have been helpful for me to hear when I was in your shoes. Life doesn't always go as you've planned. It doesn't normally throw us a pandemic, but as I look back at my life, I've never been very good at predicting how it would end up. Throughout it, I've always had to be persistent and believe in myself. This helped me get through my junior year in high school, which is where my first story starts. I did well in high school without having to work too hard. By the time I entered my junior year, that's how I expected life to go. Do well, don't work too hard. Then I arrived in Mrs. Friday's English class, where I received a failing grade on my first essay. I was shocked. I'm not sure I'd ever received a failing grade on something I had written before. My first reaction was Mrs. Friday doesn't like me. It didn't actually occur to me that my essay might actually be horrible. As the weeks went on, my poorly written essays continued. By the time progress reports were issued, my English grade was barely above passing. I thought I had worked so hard to improve my grade, but I realized I'd mostly just whined. With Mrs. Friday's guidance, I eventually improved my writing skills. I spent many hours practicing writing, whining, rewriting, crying, and writing some more. I remember tearing up so many drafts out of frustration and anger. It took months, but I did figure it out. It took me a while to realize it, but Mrs. Friday was the teacher who taught me the most in high school. Mrs. Friday taught me how to keep trying, how to persevere. She taught me how to believe in myself. I chose high school as the setting for my first message. I could have told a similar story from when I was in college, my jobs, or in my personal life. You're going to continue to run into obstacles in this life. Be persistent. Believe in yourself. You will get through them and be a better person because of them. My next story has to do with our natural desire to be certain when making big life decisions. Do I go to college? Do I get a job? Am I certain this is what I want to do? It's okay if you don't know what you want to do with your life. That's pretty normal. Some of you know exactly what you want to do, and that's great. However, once you get started, remember that it's okay if you change your mind when you're doing it. It's not too late, and it's not permanent. My second and last story also starts in high school. As I was graduating, I felt I needed to know what I wanted to do with my life, and I had no idea. At the time, I decided to go to school for engineering because I liked chemistry, math, and physics. I was told I could get a job anywhere as an engineer, and that was great news. That meant I had 4 more years to not make a decision. So I went to engineering school. Time passed, I graduated, and I got an engineering job. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. The company I worked for was fantastic, but eventually I grew bored with my job. I changed jobs a few times, and during that time, the part of my job I liked best always involved teaching. When explaining something to someone, I loved watching the aha moment. It made my day, and it still does. For years, I toyed with the idea of becoming a teacher. I just didn't know if teaching would be better. Finally, at 29 years old, I left my career and became a full-time student, gaining my license to teach. I've been here at BFA ever since. Changing careers was one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make. I wanted to be certain I was making the right choice, but of course I wouldn't know until afterward. Becoming a teacher was one of the best life choices I've made, as it's allowed me to meet you. My message to you is that if you don't like what you're doing, change it. It may take time, planning, and hard work, but it's never too late. We left the halls of BFA months ago, but we, the faculty and staff at BFA, won't forget you. Your smiles, stories, and triumphs will stay with us, as I'm sure they will with you. I'm thankful I had the opportunity to get to know some of your stories, and I look forward to seeing you again. I wanted to close today with a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson on the meaning of success. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. I wish you all success and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sinnett, for that wonderful address. I'd now like to introduce the members of the senior chorus singing the senior music selection. It is now my pleasure to introduce our valedictorian, Riley Marr, who will be giving our valedictory address.
When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. Despite these words coming from Franklin Delano Roosevelt nearly a century ago, his messages of perseverance and tenacity resonate strongly with a society plagued by COVID-19. This is exactly what we're doing as Vermonters in the midst of this pandemic, tying our knots and hanging on, all while remaining distant enough to completely eliminate the possibility of starting that kazoo choir you've been investing in for so long. As we navigate through the new realities that come with mask wearing, financial struggles, keeping distance from our loved ones, and an almost non-existent supply of toilet paper, it is more important now than ever to hang on. We must see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We must recognize that we will come out of this stronger, and most importantly, all of us must know that no pandemic, or any obstacle for that matter, will keep me from pursuing my dream of conducting BFA Track's first ever kazoo and harmonica ensemble. With that in mind, I am honored to have the privilege to speak in front of you all today. And while I know this isn't the graduation most of you had probably envisioned, having an online graduation has its perks too. Starting with the obvious, having an online graduation allows you to watch the whole ceremony while still in your underpants, but also gives you the opportunity to curl up to your computer with a nice hot bowl of soup to supplement your incredible 4-year journey here at BFA. Having said that, I would like to thank all the faculty, administrators, and parents who worked tirelessly to ensure that the class of 2020 would never let go of their ropes. For that, we are grateful. I also wanted to personally thank a few people in particular who have helped guide me not only during this difficult time, but through my years as a high school student. First and foremost, I wanted to thank my incredible mom for supporting my ambitions, teaching me that giving up is never an option, and violently screaming incomprehensible gibberish on the sidelines of my track races. I also wanted to thank my older brother Robbie for his groundbreaking research in the field of being a nuisance, and for taking the time to help me write this speech. Lastly, I wanted to thank all my other family members for their love and encouragement, as well as my friends for continuing to hang out with me, even though I used to wear some of the dorkiest sweaters to ever escape the dismantled clearance of a Kohl's department store, or through my wild and spontaneous email crafting while I served as Secretary of the National Honor Society. While we're on that topic, I would like to take this time to announce my official endorsement of Will Thomas Dumont for Vice President of the NHS Executive Council next year. I also wanted to thank both Senor Thurber and Senora Solemno for entertaining my unique sense of humor and heavy use of Spanglish in class. From the in-class Mad Libs to the endless advisory shenanigans, I am grateful to have had teachers who were so willing to engage in ridiculous activities. I also wanted to thank Ms. Hebert for both helping me work through the college application process, as well as giving me a near-perfect score on an instructional essay I wrote about using the bathroom before a cross-country race. For those of you who haven't heard of my self-patented reach and hope philosophy, I wanted to recognize Mr. Bushy's advocacy of my cello technique that revolves around guessing where the notes are and hoping I do so correctly. Lastly, I wanted to thank Coach Mashter for responding to endless emails about the status of my running injuries. Though it took a few years and probably hundreds of emails to realize, I now know how annoying it can be to be emailed several times a week about hip pain. Speaking of hip pain, my hip was feeling particularly sore this past fall for the state cross-country championships. Now, I hate to bore you with my silly cross-country endeavors, but I can assure you that the moral of this story will either teach you a valuable lesson in mental persistence or make you realize I'm much more of a dork than you once thought. But first, some background. Just weeks before the meet, I had come down with a bad case of pneumonia and had a 102 fever for nearly 4 days before taking antibiotics. While the culprit behind the season-destroying illness is still unknown, it may have developed as a result of me refusing to take a day off from running when I got the flu. That or close proximity to Isabel Zamianic in personal finance, who I fully blame for the outcome of this story. But I won't sit here and point the finger at who may or may not have gotten me sick, because the lessons I've learned through racing with pneumonia have made me a stronger runner as well as a more resilient person, and also because I'm entirely certain it was Isabel who did me in. For the sake of time, I'm going to fast forward to the start of the race. Just to establish a little more context, I had finished my warm-up drills, foolishly invested in yet another novelty cross-country t-shirt, and was just then dancing to Billy the Scarf, which was blaring at the meet. For those of you who don't know, Billy the Scarf is a song used by Spanish teachers to torture and annoy students, and I may or may not have asked the meet director to play that song right before our race began. By the way, I encourage you all to give the song a listen to after today's celebration, as it just may be the single most moving piece of music this world has ever seen. I then completed my usual warm-up drills and continued to find my groove as I danced along to a timeless classic. Then, faster than the speed of AAA roadside assistance, the race began, and runners began violently jerking through the muddy straightaway in a way similar to my Corolla when I take it up Fairfield Hill. I near thought it was Christmas morning in July the way my dashboard lit up while driving that sucker. Thankfully, the car didn't break down until after I reached the top of the hill, a fact I am still grateful for today. For the first mile of the race, I found myself running in the lower half of the field as I struggled to breathe. Even though the race had just begun, I was nearing the end of my rope. By the time the second mile rolled around, I had worked my way up through the field, where I received a plethora of pity cheers from coaches and spectators alike, as they marveled at how both my breathing and running form closely resembled that of an asthmatic chicken suffering from a brain aneurysm, if you've ever seen something like that. As for me, I felt like a garbage truck backing into a tree, or how Peter Van Vlonderen must have felt when he drove his lawnmower into a pond. By the time I finished, I felt like one of those inflatable noodles at car dealerships, but only if the noodles looked sickly and were turning a concerning shade of red. Even though I didn't do as well as I hoped I would, I was proud of the fact that I didn't give up or let go. Racing with pneumonia exposed me to a new layer of mental toughness that I didn't know I possessed. It taught me to push myself even when I'm nowhere near a personal best, but most importantly, it taught me to prepare for the unexpected and persevere through the tough times. Like when you join a community band in elementary school and realize you can barely read music. Spoiler alert, that was me, and just so you know, I was kind of the worst. But the point is, I still stuck with it when things were tough, even if that meant pretending I was playing correctly and doing so in a way that's at least somewhat believable. All joking aside, these last few months have been some of the hardest days this generation has ever seen. That shouldn't be a problem with the class of 2020, however, as we have flourished through the good times and held strong through the bad ones. When faced with the uncertainty of the proficiency-based learning system, the class of 2020 adapted and became the first class ever in BFA history to fully transition to a new academic system. When celebrating achievements, like the execution of theater productions like Matilda and Shrek, or the many state championship titles won by BFA hockey, snowboarding, softball, in addition to many individuals, the class of 2020 has met these accomplishments with grace and maturity. The class of 2020 has prioritized giving back to the community as well, as shown by the National Honor Society organizing countless service projects, as well as Powder Puff raising nearly $30,000 to benefit Camp Tecumseh. And in the wake of COVID-19, the class of 2020 came together and finished the year strong, persevering through a situation many people wouldn't have ever thought possible. And so, class of 2020, I leave you with one final message. When you reach the end of your ropes, I implore you to not only tie a knot, but to hold on loosely and don't let go, because if you cling too tightly, you might lose control. Yes, I just quoted a 38 Special song in my speech, and yes, I am a little ashamed. The point is, it's important to accept life's curveballs, like COVID-19. And if by some unfortunate luck they cause you to lose your grip and fall, just know that it's never too late to find a way to climb back up and retie your knots. Thank you, class of 2020, and congratulations.
Thank you, Riley Marr, for that wonderful speech. I would now like to introduce, for the presentation of diplomas, Superintendent Dr. Kevin Dirth, MRUSD Board Chair Jeff Morrill, and Interim Principal William Kimball.
Grace Elizabeth Adamsack. Hannah E. Adams. Noah Aldridge. Kiera Renee Anderson. Alex Stephen Archimbo. Benoit Pierre Archimbo. Caitlin Olivia Babcock. Emily Jo Bashand. Chance Jeffrey Dean Baker. Landon John Baker. Kylie Bates. Matthew Bayard. Catherine Hannah Beaudry. Olivia Mary Jane Bichard. Mioka Hannah Benjamin. Jacob P. Benware. Benjamin Joseph Bergeron. Jaden T. Bassett. Jada L. Biggs. Lincoln D. Blodgett. Owen Isidore Bonnet. Noah Booker. Jeffrey George Bordeaux. David Boucher. Lucas Ryan Boucher. Cole Robert Boudreau. Leah Elizabeth Brannon. Michaela Adelaide Brooks. Sophie Mae Brown. Megan Elizabeth Buckley. Joshua Burfoot. Isaac Roland Burleson. Taylor Bushy. Brecken Grant Butterfield. Delaney Blair Cadju. Sadie Callan. Abigail Janine Casey. Joshua Mitchell Cave. William Abraham Chamberlain. Hassan S. Chambers, Jr. Evan Charbonneau. Elena M. Chun. Megan Elizabeth Connor. Sadie Grace Kuhn. Kyle A. Coutois. Charlie Cronin. Thomas Cuddy. Emily Cueto. Avery S. Dodlin. Nicholas A. Dodlin. Neil Davis Sicard. Zane Rose DeMont. Amira Ray Derbala. Forrest C. Delorier. Morgan Delorier. Cole Desatel. Timothy Dahl. Abigail Harriet DeMag. Angela Doe. Melanie Doobie. Joan M. Dudley LaFell. Colby Thomas Dukas. Shilese Rain Dunn. Cameron George Dunsmore. Chloe Christine Dusso. Daniel Alfred Ellis Jr. Caitlin Emerson. William J. Easonsey. Asa Benjamin Forbes. Elena Marie Gagne. Riley Lynn Gamache. Robert J. Gamache. Luke Jarvis. Taylor Gingras. Lucy J. Goldman. May Eden Grattan. Parker Grattan. Kaylee Ella Green. Alexander Lamar Haig. Chase Tarleton Hamblett. Woo-hoo. Joshua Robert Harding. Caden M. Hart. Sydney Eden Hatch. Jarrett K. Hathaway. Jeremiah Francis Hathaway. Hunter Edward Hatton. Kobe Christopher Hawkins. Kyrell Hawkins. Aubrey E. Hayden. Joshua Hayden. Sullivan J. Hayes. Briar Hayford Hemingway. Carly M. Hemingway. Xander Miles Herbert. Marina May Holobowitz. Kyle A. Hool. Madeline Louise Hungerford. Gavin M. Hurlbut. Ethan Ireland. William E. Irwin IV. Paige Elizabeth J. Cox. Hannah Jewett. Eric Jasper Johnson. Logan Thomas Keelty. Alyssa Kendall. Clark Kennedy. Austin D. Kittel. Benjamin Q. Kmetster. Matthew Conrad. Alyssa Lane Lambert. Caitlin Ray Lamore. Dylan C. Lampson. Desiree E. Leclerc. Kelsey Paige Llewellyn. Dominic Mateo Lisinski. Hunter John Matthew Livingston. Abby Elizabeth Lockerbie. Brandon Brandon Lee Lockwood. Emma Grace Lovelet. Colin B. Lund. Michaela R. Lynch. Sarah Christine Magnan. Riley Lane Marr. Bailey Kiana Martin. Cameron Mayo. Clayton John McAllister. Kaya A. McKenzie. Emma Gail Menard. Brendan J. Messier. Trinity Lee Messier. Jasmine M. Mojica Irizarry. Yasmin Shakira Marino Inman. Derek Nadu. Mary Rose Newhall. Jerome Smonog Nottingmore. Julie Lynn Parent. Maya Iris Peralt. Carolyn Marie Perry. Seamus Pickner. Elizabeth Ann Pietras. Jacob Piotrowski. Mead G. Pollard. Jalen Raymond. Miranda Reynolds. Joshua David Reynolds. Kara Robtoy. Emily Fernadia Rushlow. Liam John Rushlow. Kylie Morgan Rogers. Taylor Root. Anthony James Rulo. Chloe Solis Rulo. Haley E. Savage. Trevor Sears. Samantha Jean Seymour. Isaac Shover. Ella Wright Simmons. Jory Simpson. Spencer Joseph Sinagra. April Smith. Caleb J. Smith. Atzel Sparrow. Catherine L. Spalding. Andrew C. Sterling. Isabel Rose Sweeney. Kaylee Elizabeth Sweeney. Hunter Ralph Tabor. Hannah May Tatrum. Fiona Lee Taylor. Frankie Cody Tedford. Isaiah Tebow. Gregory J. M. Torber. Kylie J. Trim. Juliana Turner. Carrie Marguerite Marie Tuttle. Peter Van Vlonderen. Nicholas Andrew Voyer. Xavier J. Wagner. Joseph E. D. Walsh. David Weinstein. Jack Weishar. Kira Elizabeth Wells. Colin James White. Zachary M. Willett. Taylor Robert Yates. Nicholas P. Young. Isabel Lasdelia Zemianic. Joy Zorn.
Congratulations again to the class of 2020. It is now my pleasure to introduce the senior chorus, who will be leading us in the singing of our alma mater.
Near by Champlain's sparkling waters stands the school we love. For her glory
for that beautiful rendition of our alma mater to the senior chorus members. We will now be played out by the BFA Orchestra playing our traditional Pomp and Circumstance.